Hey guys, this is Sports with Dylan. Today was the NFL trade deadline, and it did not disappoint. This video is going to be some of the smaller trades that happened, and then later on I'll make some videos about the larger trades that happened. First off, Nyheim Hines was traded to the Bills from the Indianapolis Colts. This trade was a bit surprising because Nyheim Hines is a really good pass-catching backup running back, but he isn't much more than that. I don't see a ton of value in him. But in exchange, the Colts received Zach Moss and a 2023 6th-round pick. I think that's a bit on the pricey side. I would have done maybe Zach Moss in a 7th rounder, or even just Zach Moss, given the price difference. It's tough to say, but personally, I think Nyheim Hines is overrated. He's not a bad running back, but he hasn't proven he can actually run. He's more of a tight end than an actual running back. And this is good for the Bills. They could use a pass-catching running back because they don't have one. But I would have gone a bit bigger if I was the Bills and gone for someone like Kareem Hunt, who wasn't traded at the deadline, surprisingly, instead of going just for Nyheim Hines. So Devin Singletary will remain the starting running back, but you'll have Nyheim Hines behind him to push him for the starting role. And it's possible that Nyheim Hines does take over the starting role. In exchange, the Colts got a solid backup running back, but if I were the Colts, that's not what I have gone for. If I was going to trade away a player, I would have tried to fill one of my needs with what I get in return, not getting a different backup running back. You're really just trading one thing for basically the exact same again. So I don't exactly get what the Colts were thinking here, but the Bills at least get another pass-catching weapon for Josh Allen, and maybe Nyheim Hines can improve the running game in Buffalo. Next up, Jeff Wilson was traded to the Miami Dolphins from the San Francisco 49ers for a 2023 5th-round pick. As I mentioned in my Christian McCaffrey video, which I'll leave a link to in the description, Jeff Wilson is a solid backup running back. But with Christian McCaffrey on that roster, he's just going to keep getting pushed down and down and down. It's not a timeshare with Christian McCaffrey. It's Christian McCaffrey, and then whenever Christian McCaffrey's injured, then the backups come in. But the 49ers have Elijah Mitchell, who's currently injured, which is probably why he wasn't traded for, and rookie Tyron Davis-Price. So they do not need Jeff Wilson on their roster. Meanwhile, the Dolphins at the time did not need a backup running back. But Chase Edmonds was traded, and I'll disclose more of the details in a video in the future. But all you've got to know is the Dolphins needed running back depth, and they got that with Jeff Wilson. Interestingly enough, Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson were a running back duo in San Francisco just a year ago. Raheem Mostert spent a lot of the time injured, which means it's smart for Miami to get a solid backup running back. And obviously, since Mike McDaniel was the offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers a year ago, that means that he knows Jeff Wilson well. So this trade makes tons of sense because Mike McDaniel is like Kyle Shanahan. He knows how to work with running backs, which he has done already, and he can do further with Jeff Wilson. After that, William Jackson, the disgruntled Washington Commanders cornerback, was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This trade was kind of a given because William Jackson was on a high-priced contract but was playing terribly in Washington. He just couldn't get it going. He's proven that he's a solid quarterback, but he hasn't proven that in Washington. So he just needed a change of scenery, hopefully. Maybe it's that his time has passed, but I'm assuming that he just needs a change of scenery, and he will do better now in Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh needs cornerback help desperately, almost as much as offensive line help, because they have no solid cornerbacks. If you can think of one good cornerback on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster, you will get a crisp high five from me. I bet you can't think of any, because even I have trouble thinking of any cornerbacks on the Steelers roster, let alone a good one. So these Steelers need some cornerback help, and it helps to have a veteran presence in that room. But it's also possible the Steelers just end up taking on another high-priced contract who's going to do nothing for them for the next couple years. We'll have to see. And lastly is another trade involving the Steelers. But more importantly, the Bears finally got Justin Fields a weapon. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. In exchange, the Pittsburgh Steelers received a 2023 second-round pick. If you ask me, this isn't a very good deal, because Roquan Smith, who was traded a couple days ago, and I made a video on it, which I'll leave a link to in the description, was traded for a second rounder along with a couple other low-end picks and a player. But primarily just a second rounder for Roquan Smith. Now, would you say Roquan Smith is anywhere near the same category as Chase Claypool? I would never say that in a million years. Roquan Smith is a superstar linebacker. Chase Claypool is a number 2 receiver on most teams. So, there's a big difference there. And yet, somehow, the Steelers got what they're asking for from the Bears. And also, the Bears probably should have kept some of their picks, because they need to build offensive line and some more receivers for Justin Fields. But at the same time, it's nice to have a veteran presence in that room. I know Chase Claypool isn't quite a veteran, but he's an older, more experienced receiver to be in that room, not just a bunch of young rookies. So that part is good for the Bears. On the Steelers' hand of things, I don't really understand it either. They had Deontay Johnson as their number 1 receiver. He's pretty good. After that, then it was Chase Claypool. Then you have rookie George Pickens. But he has been good, but you don't want to rely on a rookie receiver to be a star receiver. Even if they do turn out to be a star receiver, like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, you don't want to have to rely on them for that if you're a competitive team. I wouldn't quite call the Steelers a competitive team anymore, but who knows? They snuck in last year, and they could sneak in again this year. But without Chase Claypool, you're relying on Deontay Johnson and George Pickens to carry all of the weight load for receivers. And that is a big ask for them. You're also taking away a weapon from a young quarterback in Kenny Pickett, which is not something you see very often. Normally you give them weapons, like they did for Justin Fields. But instead they decide to take away a weapon from Kenny Pickett. So I'm not quite sure what went on in this trade. But it's possible that Chase Claypool is disgruntled with the team. There are rumors about that. Or maybe Mike Tomlin wasn't getting along with him, so they just said he's got to go. And they traded him, and they managed to get a second-round pick. That is really good on the Steelers. But thank you guys so much for watching. These are the small trades, and soon enough there will be more videos out about even larger trades. So stay tuned.